Hi, Standard 10. Let's continue with our story, The Model Millionaire, from where we left off in the last module. We left off at the place where the old man had said thank you because he had given him a sovereign. Okay. Then Trevor arrived and Huey took his leave, blushing a little at what he had done. He spent the day with Laura, got a charming scolding for his extravagance, and had to walk home because he didn't have money now for the horse carriage. So he got a scolding also from his girlfriend. That night he strolled into the Palais Club about 11 o'clock and found Trevor sitting by himself in the smoking room. Drinking Hock and Seltzer. Hock and Seltzer are German white wine. Hock is German white wine and Seltzer is soda water. Well, Alan, did you get the picture finished all right? He said as he lit a cigarette. Finished and framed, my boy, answered Trevor. And by the by, you have made a conquest. The old model you saw is quite devoted to you. I had to tell him all about you, who you are and where you live, what your income is, what your prospects you have. My dear Alan, cried Huey, I shall probably find him waiting for me when I go home. But of course you are only joking. Poor old wretch. He's talking about the beggar man. Poor old wretch. I wish I could have done something for him. I could do something for him. I think it is dreadful that anyone should be so miserable. I have got heaps of old clothes at home. Do you think he would care for any of them? Why, his rags were falling to bits. So here also we see that Huey has got a lot of generosity. From whatever he has, he wants to share. It's not that he wants to take. He wants to share from whatever he has. But he looks splendid in them, in the rags. I wouldn't paint him in a frock coat for anything. What is a frock coat? A frock coat is a man's formal, double-vested, long coat with a double vest. Okay. What you call rags, I call romance. What seems poverty to you is picturesqueness to me. That means striking beauty. Picturesqueness is striking beauty. So what seems poverty to you is picturesqueness to me. However, I'll tell him of your offer. So what is the offer? That I'll give him my clothes if he doesn't have. Alan, said Huey seriously, you painters are a heartless lot. An artist's heart is his head, replied Trevor. And besides, our business is to realize the world as we see it, not to reform it, and as we know it. So now here he's telling, Trevor has made a statement that for an artist, his heart is actually his head, because the job of an artist is to portray the world as he sees it, not what he wants it to be at the moment, not as we want to reform it or we want to know it, but we are just portraying the world as the world is. Okay. The old model was quite interested in her. Now tell me about Laura. The old model was interested in her. You don't mean to say you talked to him about her, said Huey. Certainly I did. He knows all about the relentless Colonel and the lovely Laura and the 10,000 pounds. You told that old beggar all my private affairs, cried Huey, looking very red and angry. Now Huey is really angry that he has given out all his private matters to one beggar. My dear boy, said Trevor, smiling. That old beggar, as you call him, is one of the richest men in Europe. He could buy all London tomorrow without overdrawing his account. He has a house in every capital. He dines off a gold plate and can prevent Russia going to war when he chooses. So now he has described the wealthiness, the richness of this old beggar. So he has told him that this old beggar whom you are calling was actually the richest man of Europe, who has a house in every capital and who can buy all the houses in London tomorrow, and yet he would not be overdrawing from his bank account. He's got so much money in his bank account. He has so much money that he can influence Russia and stop it from going to war. Okay. Now this is an exaggeration. It's an example of a hyperbole. Okay. So, of course, here you can note when he talks about the sentence. So, one is an example of a hyperbole, which I told you, exaggeration. And then the old beggar is the richest man in Europe. That is a ironical statement, because a person who is a beggar turns out to be the richest man. What on earth do you mean? Exclaimed Huey. What I say. The old man you saw today in the studio was Baron Hausberg. He is a great friend of mine, buys all my pictures and that sort of a thing, and gave me a commission. What do you mean by commission over here? Not commission in cash. Commission means an order of an art piece of work. So he gave him an order of an art piece of work, that you do this art piece for me. So he gave me a commission a month ago to paint him as a beggar. And I must say, he made a magnificent figure in his rags. Or perhaps I should say in my rags. They are an old suit that I got in Spain. So now he's telling him that I had given him the rags. Okay. Baron Hausberg, cried Huey. Good heavens! I gave him a sovereign. And he sank into an armchair, the picture of utter dismay. Look at the quality with which Oscar Wilde is writing. Good heavens, now this is a dialect which was probably used at that time. I gave him a sovereign and he sank into an armchair, a picture of dismay. So this again gives us a visual imagery. Gave him a sovereign? Shouted Trevor, and he burst into a roar of laughter. My dear boy, you will never see it again. You'll never see your £1, your sovereign again. I think you might have told me, Alan, said Huey sulkily, and not have let me make such a fool of myself. You should have told me. Why didn't you tell me? Well, to begin with, Huey, said Trevor, it never entered my mind that you went about distributing arms in that reckless way. I can understand your kissing a pretty model, but you're giving a sovereign to an ugly one. By Jove, no. Again, it's a dialect which he has used over here. By Jove, no. So he's saying, I can imagine if my model was left over there and if she was a pretty one, I could imagine that you would kiss her behind my back. But I never in my dreams also imagined that you would give that one sovereign to an ugly beggar. Who would imagine such a thing? That I never knew you were such an extravagant person. Besides, the fact is, I was really not at home today to anyone. And when you came in, I didn't know whether Hausberg would like his name mentioned. You know, he wasn't in full dress. So he's saying, I did not expect somebody to come to my house today. But you came in, and Hausberg, the Baron, was not in his full dress. So I did not want to mention his name. So I could not tell you that he is Baron Hausberg. How would I introduce you? He may not have liked it. What a duffer he must think of me. Duffer means stupid person. So what a duffer he must think of me, said Huey. Not at all. He was in the highest spirits after you left. He kept chuckling to himself and rubbing his old wrinkled hands together. See, again visual imagery. A person chuckling to himself and rubbing his hands together. Wow. That sort of a thing. So visualize it. I couldn't make out why he was so interested to know all about you. But I see it all. He'll invest your sovereign for you, Huey, and pay you the interest every 6 months and have a capital story to tell after that. So he's saying that, oh, no wonder he was so interested in you. You are never going to see that sovereign again. That sovereign is going to be invested by the richest man in London, richest man in all of Europe, and he is going to invest your money and he will pay you an interest on that one sovereign of yours every 6 months. You will get a interest on that. That much I can assure you. And Of course, the Baron himself will have a capital story to tell after dinner. Now, look at the pun that Oscar has used over here, Oscar Wilde has used. Capital story. Capital in the sense what we invest in business. That is also a capital, right? The initial amount that you have invested in some business is the capital. So you see, so that is the pun on the word. So the story involving the capital of £1 and the capital story in the capital. London is the capital of England. I am an unlucky devil, growled Hughie. The best thing I can do is to go to bed, and my dear Alan, you mustn't tell anyone. Please don't tell anyone that I have committed such a big blunder of giving one sovereign to the richest man in Europe. I shouldn't dare to show my face in the row. Nonsense! It reflects the highest credit on your philanthropic spirit, Hughie. And don't run away. Have another cigarette. And you can talk about Laura as much as you like. So he's saying, no, I don't think that you have made a blunder. You have done a very good thing. Sit over here, have one more cigarette, smoke with me, and tell me, talk to me about Laura as much as you like. Why? Because the Baron was interested in her. However, Hughie wouldn't stop, but walked home feeling very unhappy and leaving Alan Trevor in fits of laughter. The next morning, as he was at breakfast, the servant brought him up a card on which was written, Monsieur Gustave Naudin, on behalf of M. Le Baron Horsbeck. I suppose he has come for an apology, said Hughie to himself, and he told the servant to show the visitor up. An old gentleman with gold spectacles and grey hair came into the room. Description of the messenger. Came into the room. Grey hair, gold spectacles, grey hair, came into the room and said in a slight French accent, Have I the honour of addressing Monsieur Erskine? So, have I the honour of talking to Monsieur Erskine? Hughie bowed. I have come from Baron Horsberg, he continued. The Baron, I beg, sir, that you will offer my sincerest apologies, stammered Hughie. He is scared now. The Baron, said the old gentleman with a smile, has commissioned me to bring you this letter. And he extended a sealed envelope to Hughie. On the outside was written, a wedding present to Hughie Erskine and Laura Merton from an old beggar, and inside was a cheque for £10,000. When they were married, Alan Trevor was the best man, and the Baron made a speech at the wedding breakfast. Millionaire models means millionaires who pose as models. Millionaire models, millionaires who pose at models. Remarked Alan, are rare enough, but by Jove, model millionaires are rarer still. So millionaires who pose at models, they are rare. But what is even more rarer? A model millionaire. And over here the word model will mean ideal. IDEAL. An ideal millionaire. Who is an ideal millionaire over here? Hughie. Because he gave whatever he had. He gave away everything that he had, even at the cost of suffering himself. So he is a model millionaire. So with that we come to an end of this story with the pun on the words millionaire models and model millionaire. So I hope you all have enjoyed the story and you have also learnt a lot from the story. Okay, now I think we can discuss the themes very easily because you have read the entire story and you have understood the entire story. So I'll give you the themes. You can pause the video as usual and take a picture, or you can write it down, whatever. Okay, so those are the 3 pages for the themes. So let's now read what the themes are. The Model Millionaire by Oscar Wilde, 1854 to 1900. Themes. The first one is generosity. Second one is appearance versus reality. Then we have wealth. And then we have class consciousness. And then, of course, we have socialism. Okay. I'm just going to read it. It's very easy to understand, but I'll read it with you. Huey, the protagonist, the first one, generosity. Huey, the protagonist, was a charming young man, but was neither rich nor smart. In spite of his abysmal financial state, he was generous to a fault. The fallen and wretched look, I put it in inverted commas, the fallen and wretched look on the beggar's face forced Huey to dig in his pocket and part with the largest coin he had, a sovereign. This generosity was not lost on the beggar, who was actually one of the richest men in Europe, Baron Hausberg, who rewarded him with £10,000, the amount required to get married to Laura Merton. Second theme, appearance versus reality. The story begins with a description of the charming appearance of the protagonist, but actually not the smartest, as he had failed in every business and was jobless. The Baron, who appeared as a beggar, was in reality one of the richest men in Europe. He could buy all the houses in London tomorrow without overdrawing his account. So he was that rich. Then we come to the theme of wealth. The plot shows the importance of wealth in Victorian England. Here I want you all to quote the lines from the first paragraph, which we had discussed earlier in style, when we were discussing style. From unless one is wealthy, I've written it here, unless one is wealthy, up to the last line, fascinating. Okay, so you can give that as an example for the importance of wealth. Then we have class consciousness. The happy-go-lucky protagonist, Huey Erskine, and his artist friend, Alan Trevor, represent the middle class. Okay, these two people are from the middle class, which was the largest section of the society. Their happiness directly dependent on the mercy of their patron. And who was their patron? Baron Hausberg, a millionaire. Clearly, he was a product of industrialization. The beggar, who turns out to be a millionaire, elicites the reader's pathos, a grim reminder of the appalling condition of those who failed to reap the benefits of the economic expansion of the period. The fifth theme is that of socialism. Socialism, that means calling for a redistribution of the wealth, was gathering momentum during the Victorian era. Okay. So, calling for a redistribution of wealth. The author has shown that the rich can voluntarily redistribute their wealth by encouraging moral values like kindness and generosity amongst the people. So, we have these five themes, and you can learn the themes. Okay, now I'll come to the plot. Okay, so again, here we go. A picture for you. The picture of a plot. Page number 1. That's it. So we come to the plot. Now what does a plot say? As I've been discussing with you, I've been teaching you that in a plot you have the exposition, you have the rising action, you have the climax, then you have the falling action, and then you have the resolution. Okay. So the first thing, the exposition. Huey Erskine was charming but poor. Wanted to marry Laura Merton, the daughter of a retired colonel. The colonel would agree only if Huey had £10,000. Rising action, he visits his friend Alan Trevor, a painter and an artist. Alan giving final touches to the painting of a beggar. So that is a rising action, that when he entered, he was giving the final touches to the painting of a beggar. The climax. Huey felt sorry at the condition of the miserable old beggar, and he gave the beggar almost all the money that he had. Falling action. Later that day, Trevor told him that the beggar was actually Baron Hausberg, which shocked Huey. Okay, so shocking Huey. So Huey was shocked. Or you can change that line to hearing which Yui was shocked. Please change that line. Hearing which Huey was shocked. That would sound better. So later that day, Trevor told him that the beggar was Baron Horsburgh, hearing which Huey was shocked. Resolution. Next morning, Huey received a gift of £10,000 for his wedding from the Baron. So he got £10,000 from the Baron. So this is the plot. You have all the 5 points of the plot. And with that, we come to an end of this module and to the end of this story, the model Millionaire. I have discussed everything with you, and I will be coming up with a module on question answers. So till then, I want you all to go through both the modules and understand everything, learn everything. And again, it's my advice to you, like what I had told you in the first module, that please make your own notes as far as the style is concerned. I have discussed style with you in great detail, giving you examples which you should be using when you're quoting style. So please do that. Write it down so that when your exams come close by, you have it ready in front of you. It should not just be in your mind, because it will never be in your mind unless you put it on paper. Writing always is better, and it helps you to retain. So see you all again in my next module. Here's your facilitator, Himangi, wishing you all the best and study well.